Snowy, beautiful day out here, y'all. All right, looks good. Sounds looking good. Everything's looking good. Got some good gear. About ready to throw it all on. Fishy! Morning, buddy. Just got here. Just about to throw out a night crawler. Hope you're doing well this morning, Fishy. Hope you had a good day with the wife yesterday. I'm going there. Beautiful morning out here. Lovely Northern California. Yeah, that rod's visible. Out here, beautiful Northern California. Trying to get some of these monster rainbow trout. Yeah, it's not so bad today, Fishy. It's like 32, just above freezing. Got the ravens flying by. Had a bunch of snow coming through. I thought it was going to be 5-6 inches of snow where I'm standing. Lucky it's not. Come on, we're hoping for them big fishes. I caught a couple 20 inchers right where I'm throwing out. 20-inch rainbow trout. I thought one was a German brown. It was so colored. Kind of caught me off guard. Oh, getting hit. Getting hit. Went to mess with the other pole, got a hit. You guys probably saw that. I'm gonna need to investigate that. I could have took my worm right off. That was a good hit. No, my marshmallow's still there. Worm is still there. Man, what a difference, huh, Fishy? We had a similar thing happen. I mean, we got up to like 60s, almost 60, and then bam, right back down to like 35. Today's going to be high of 38, low of 37. It's weird. 1 degree difference. That's really rare for us. Come on. Yeah, I'm looking for these giant fish. Fish here love to mess with me when I turn my back. Supposed to get another 8 inches to up to 8 to 20 inches is what they're saying of snow today. So try to get out here real fast while I can. The winter weather alert starts at 11, so it's a 36-hour window, so who knows? The snow could come on Sunday. Flexo, Sam. Yeah, it's beautiful out here. Trying for a rainbow trout, y'all. Trying for some of these giant rainbow trout, man. Fishy, you the man. Yeah, I wasn't quite sure about going live today, but I thought, like I said, I thought it was going to be like 6 inches of snow right here. That's how much snow is in my yard, and I'm a 5-minute drive from here. I have about 8 inches of snow everywhere. So I was like, oh, this place is going to be just ugly. But microclimates, I tell you. Thought I had a little nibble. Oh, get a hit. Miss that hit. Miss that hit, man. I like 2 rods because it doubles my chances, but then I feel like it lowers my chances at the same token because it splits my focus. That's 2 hits I missed. I don't want to miss the next one. I'll leave that bobber rod alone. Come on, giant fish. What we got here, man? I don't know if I know that song. Come on, fishies. Fishy, fishies. I'm not gonna mess around with these guys. Oh, thanks, fish. It's beautiful right now. It's whoa, come on, Bolt. It's about 32 degrees. Expecting a ton more snow here today. So I had a little window. Come on, fishes. Yeah, let's get a big fish. Hoping for these giants that are out here, man. Was out, I think. No, it was yesterday. Yeah, it was out yesterday. I was trying to think of when it was. It was Friday night. I was out here. Afternoon. I caught 7 fish that day. 6 fish, I'm sorry. 2 giants. We're in Northern California. I'm Mount Shasta, California. Tourist town. If anyone wants to come fish, if you like what you see, come on up. We could use you here in Mount Shasta. Tourist towns are kind of interesting. This town survives in the summer. I'd say most of the stores here, they all make about 80% of their yearly money during the 5 months of the year. The rest of the year, it's just kind of like, well, you get a little here and there for mostly store owners. Coffee places do okay. People come down off the mountain from skiing or their snowmobile adventure, whatever they're doing, and they'll want some warm breakfast or warm hot food, good coffee. We're about an hour from the Oregon border, way up here in the middle of the mountains, kind of the end of the Cascade Range. We get into the Sierra Range. That's the osprey talking to us. Can hear the raven over there, and then the osprey yelling at the raven. Come on, fishes. Heck yeah, I'm hoping. There's these giant German browns that are in here. That's really what I'm trying to get if I had my choice. Those fish are a little challenging to catch. Predatory fish. They don't really want to bite bait. They'll attack something that looks like a little fish. They'll attack a spoon. Yeah, this place is really peaceful out here. Canadian geese. Coming in for a landing. Nope, no fish. Fishy yet. You missed Canadian geese just coming in for a landing. It was hit and miss yesterday. Took a little while. Took a little while to get anything on the line. I got two hits so far today. I have a get what you get and don't throw a fit kind of philosophy. So if I lose a fish, whatever. Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, man, I cooked that brown up the other day. It was so good. You know, I cooked it up for my daughter. Caught one yesterday. It was so colored. It was a 20-inch trout, and I was excited because that thing fought really good, pulled massive drag, kept me going for a while. And that's usually what the browns do. They give me a lot of fight. And then when I saw it, I saw the color, and I was like, oh, yes, it's brown. It had all these spots on it. Super colorful. It's a breeding time right now for the rainbow trout. So the boys tend to be really colored up. Hens are a little silverish. Every day I have to try and figure out where the fish are. It's probably about half the energy I expend really is trying to pattern them, figure out where are the fish. It's an easy thing to want to like kind of start off where you were yesterday. Let's say you caught a fish in a particular area, or your buddy caught one right there. Someone's messing with that bobber. So it's very common to be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go right back there and throw the same thing in. But I found there's no 2 days of fishing are the same, man. No fishing spot is the same day after day. You may go there with that right intention, you'll throw the same exact gear, but you won't get one. Oh, that'd be cool. I'm looking forward to checking out that steelhead spot, man. These guys that I've watched a bunch of videos on up in Indiana and a few other places like that, they center pin. And so, you know, that type of fly fishing, that center pin. And that's how they catch those big steelies in those little rivers, man. Yeah, the different techniques, man. We do pretty good with jig fishing out here for steelhead, bead fishing, you know, spawn, egg or fake egg, that kind of thing. That works really well too. There's an old school thing they call yarn, throwing a yarny. Yeah, center pin, man, is really cool looking. Yarny is real interesting, man. You literally take a piece of yarn and you have it hooked on to a hook, and it's it. You use a pink piece of yarn. It's folded in half, and you got what's called an egg hook, egg loop that you tie on your hook, and you just kind of hook it over there. Yarny is something that they did like in the 60s and 50s, man. They caught a ton of steelhead with the yarnies, and it just kind of looks like a spawn with a bunch of eggs in it, and it looks like the spawn is kind of fraying. It's hard to describe, but it's literally just a piece of yarn. You can catch trout. Trout are often known to bite on just about anything, man. Yeah, you gotta look up center pin. It's it might seem familiar once you see it. It's that big giant circular fly fishing rod and that big reel. And you'll be like, oh, okay, I think I know what that is. And seems like a lot of that steelhead fishing I've seen off Great Lake, they're in these muddy little, what looks like to me a creek. That looks like it's about 2 feet deep, 6-8 feet across. They call it a river or whatever, but West Coast, my definition of river may be a little different than what people in the Midwest call river. I call those things creeks. River has to be navigable here in the West. You have to be able to boat it. for it to be called a river. Otherwise, it's a creek or a stream. If you can't boat it, then it's a creek. Crankbaits, that's cool. I have little experience with those. We got a thing called plug. We use these plugs, which kind of looks and reminds me of crankbait, but they're meant to be trolled or thrown in the heavy current of a river, and you got to kind of just sit out there, standing in your waders and stuff, and you toss your plug out there in the heavy duty current, and it bounces and jumps up and down. It's pretty cool that way. Yeah, that full moon, it does really have an effect. I fished out here a lot, and I've noticed at certain apexes of the full moon, I won't get much. A lot of times I would have brought in, I'd say 3 or 4 fish by now. Like as soon as I start throwing this bobber out, as soon as I get my gear out there, they go crazy, man. Yeah, that's the way to go, man. I have a lot of these fake worms in my fake worm collection for steelhead. They're little, the micro ones are a little 3-inch, but they're up to like 6-inch worm. And I got about 12 colors. With that, same with spinners. I was taught that you need to match your color presentation to the day. So if you bring out your collection of spinners and you got a little spinner box with a dozen spinners in it, I'd open that box and see which one kind of pops on a day like this. So that's kind of what you'll notice with your worms too, is you open them up and take a look, and yeah, the watercolor, the refractiveness of the sun. You got a whole lot of cloud. Is it a blue sky day, cloudy day? It'll all affect both your artificial worm and your spinner, if that's what you're using for salmon or steelhead or trout, whatever you're doing. So you want to kind of open that spinner collection and see which one pops. What colors are just standing out, like just really catching your eyes, like, man, that looks really strong today. And those are typically the ones that are best to throw out. Yeah, it's really interesting, man. I tell you, that full moon thing, it I can see why people didn't fish Saturday Night Live, because it really does have a difference. I caught a lot, but it was before the apex of the full moon, I guess you might want to say. It would make sense. People talk about the barometric pressure, because I tried to figure it out. I was like, well, fish can't see the moon, and it's not like they're biting more or less by light. That's pretty cool. Yeah, so I like to do the same thing with those artificial worms. So say you have a real muddy water source you're using because it's been raining. Or I noticed a lot of those creeks where y'all are, anything that is in the Midwest like that, they just tend to be muddy because of all the erosion of the farmland. The way I've studied it a little bit, all that improper farming techniques they use for all the corn and all that stuff like that, it just destroys the topsoil basically. And so the rivers are just eating up the soil, creeks and everything like that. That's why everybody's river's so brown out there. Out here, we don't really have that problem. Our soil's a little more stabilized in the mountains, and it hasn't been agriculturally destroyed. Burko, good morning, Burko. And so our creeks and mountains and everything tend to be, green water, blue water, but you can just see it. out there and what the agricultural Monsanto style of farming has done. It's just created, dead soil, to be honest with you. And it just washes away. I watched you for a while last night, Burko. I was just lurking. I was just lurking. It was about the time some fool troll guy gave you a lip, gave you attitude about your wife. That's about the time I was watching y'all, Burko. Sometimes I just turn things on and just watch while I get chores done, or I just clean up, or sometimes I'm not in a social mood to chat, but I prefer to listen. This might be one of them fishing kind of days where it's going to challenge me. Yeah, exactly. I was watching a newer guy named Skullface. He popped into one of my lives a little bit ago, and we've been chatting, and he finally went live yesterday. I was watching him. Tara was in there, Matthew. Saw a few other friendly people pop in. I think Chaos popped in to say hi to him. That was crazy when you were on live the other night, Fishy. It was like everybody was popping in. I think I watched ATC yesterday for a while too. Darn right, Burko. That guy wasn't very cool, man. It's like, come on, go watch somebody else's channel. That's my philosophy in this world nowadays. If you got an issue with anybody in this world, ask yourself why. Look inward. Don't blame them. Usually it just means for whatever reason that's not your vibe, man. And just move on gently in life. Don't focus on everybody else's actions and what they should or shouldn't do. I think the world would be a little bit better place if everyone just looked inward when they have an issue with anybody else. Figure out why you got that issue and then move on. I have to switch some gear up here. Uh-oh. I might have bumped it. Yeah, Fishy, I agree. I needed to learn a lot as well. I wanted to understand how lives worked. I could see it felt like there was a potential for a ton of mistakes unless I kind of studied it a little bit. After listening to people talk about well, you tell your wife that I thought she did an amazing job and that she should do lots of lives with you, and that guy is just a hater and he doesn't belong anywhere in the fishing community that I know of. And if your wife wants to come and just have a blast and talk all our ears off, then I think that's a beautiful thing. So that guy's fool, and I hope your wife doesn't let his foolish actions change her. Because that sometimes is the worst thing, is when we give them power to affect us. If she's enjoying herself with you and you enjoy yourself with her being there, Burko, then you encourage that. Don't let that fool take that beauty away from her. It's challenging, I tell you, though. I play music in a band, and I'll ask my bandmates at times for open criticism. I'll need to know. I'm like, hey, because I'm back there behind the drum kit and I'm singing. And so sometimes it's a little challenging doing both. And they'll be honest. Like, hey, okay, on that song, you slowed down your drumming when you went to the singing part. And it's open criticism. And I'm not gonna be mad at them because I want feedback at that moment. But that's what I'm open. But when people decide to butt into your life and tell you how to be, and you don't want that feedback, that's when it's not fun, man. That's when it can hurt. And you're like, hey, I'm just being myself, and some idiot out here is judging me. Yeah, I've been learning that one, Fishy. I've been trying to figure the balance on that one out. I was fishing live a few days back, and I missed probably 3 or 4 fish because I was reading the chat. And so I thought about that. It's like, well, there's got to be an interesting balance line between, I've watched a few where a few lives where people just turn their camera on and then they just walk 30 feet away and they never talk. And it gets a little boring, to be honest with you. The chat usually keeps it going. Tomcat. Yeah, Burko, I got this beautiful river down the way, Sacramento River, and it flows real strong. I'm in this canyon, so it's real fast moving, really strong, really loud. I made a short with it the other day, and I've been thinking about doing a live or two down there. More to give people the quality of experience to be by the river. It'll challenge me beyond belief to catch a fish there. And if I caught any fish on live in that spot, I tell you, I'll celebrate. Because as a trout fisherman goes, that's a really difficult spot. And but I've been thinking of some unconventional, out of the box fishing styles to pop over there with. But after a few comments, people were like, "Oh, I'd come here just to hang out and just to pray and da da da." I was like, "Well, maybe I should just do a live here, show people this beautiful river. It's loud with like the rushing river sounds." Yeah, Tomcat, it's something. It's something. With the snow, that's what I thought today. It's like, oh, it'll be a beautiful backdrop with the snow here. With the prevailing winds, as the old owl used to say in Winnie the Pooh. With the barometric pressure, Pooh, and the prevailing winds. The fish may not be biting too good today, Pooh. Old wise owl. Come on, fishies. Missed a few good bites over here on something. Other than that, it's been an interesting morning. Yeah, that's some serious hours, man. I sat there. I think I was there for pretty much for the whole live. I had not much else going on, and I was like, I'm a big sports guy. I watch basketball like crazy, and it wasn't many games worth watching. Sometimes I'll have a game on silent, and then I'll be watching the fishing people too. And so that pulls me a lot. Some great sports game where I'll be like, well, I got to go check this out. Other than that, I just like to turn on the fishing shows and just leave them. I love helping younger channels, get them watch hours in. It was fun, Fishy. You make an enjoyable show. It's kind of like what I thought that rod was moving. I think that's what some good channels end up being a fun and entertaining experience. May not always catch a ton of fish, but I think that's part of what it's about. Is it a good time? So that's kind of what I'm narrowing down. How much interaction is too much interaction, not enough interaction with chat. Exactly. Well, I think that's what you want, you know. I'm an old radio guy, so I used to have morning shows on all the time, and I just like the silliness and the goofiness, humor that doesn't poke fun of other people. I never was a Howard Stern kind of guy. I just like humor for what it is, in the natural sense. Not I don't like any kind of power where you get power by standing on another human. And humor is the same way. You don't need to create humor by putting somebody else down. And Canadian geese over there agreed as well. Yeah. Good old Meatloaf, man. He seems helpless on a certain degree, kind of bored. I feel for him. I picture someone just sitting in their mama's basement and has just got nothing better to do in life. But he keeps coming around, keeps changing, put so much energy into things. Man, it's crazy. He keeps coming back. So he's attracted to something, you know. The way I've looked at it, you know, us humans, we're born really helpless. We're born with no knowledge set. We're born with no nothing when we enter this world. We're not like a turtle. We're not like a snake, if you will, that's born with all the knowledge it'll ever need when it's born. We are this blank sponge, and we require all these other people to nourish us, to feed us, to teach us. And along that line, we realize that attention becomes the prevailing factor for why you succeed or why you don't. The more you get from others, the more you develop, because we're not born with all these inherent knowledgeful, you know, wisdom-based things like all these other creatures. So on this deep-seated aspect, we realize the more attention we get, the more we're going to succeed. So when the teacher called on people and there was a couple kids who just put their hands up right away, they wanted that attention. I think they must have understood that. The more attention I get from teachers, from parents, from everybody, the more I'm going to grow, the more knowledge I'm going to get, the bigger, better I'm going to develop. So inherently, we want attention. We want others to notice us. We want others to give us attention. And if you haven't quite figured that one out and you're really still stuck in that paradigm where you feel like you need more from others than you can self-create, then you're kind of in that paradigm. And that's what you'll notice, that they haven't quite matured to a place where they can self-reflect and or they can nurture and give to others, and especially give to themselves. So attention is important. And like I say, all attention is good attention. And I think that's why, because on this inherent aspect of life, we need others. We've needed them since we were born. We couldn't have survived. And then we need them socially as we're an adult. We don't feel like we want to survive completely alone like a hermit. 99% of humans live in a pair bond. So 99% of humans worldwide, 8 billion of us or whatever, 99% of those live with another human. Whether they live with their mom, they live with their sister. Burko, you take care of yourself, buddy. I was wondering about that. I saw you fishing, and I was like, man, he either is a up all night kind of guy, or I don't understand your time zone. That's what I was thinking. It's like, I see him in my morning. He must be up late. Oh, you take care of yourself, Burko. Tell the wife to ignore that fool. I'm looking forward to seeing her on a live. So yeah, that's been my experience with it. Whatever you create, usually you want an audience for it. If you create your music, you create the best music you've ever created, and it'll give you a certain level of satisfaction. It gives you this more intense satisfaction when you share it with somebody, and then especially if they acknowledge and they shake their head and they're like, "Oh, that's amazing. That's the best I've ever heard you." Blah blah blah. You hike the best mountain you can imagine. I mean, how much joy is it going to give you if you're just by yourself? So since 99% of the human population lives that way, you just kind of got to understand it and go with it. Chaos. Hey, hey. Yeah, I believe that way about dogs too. I don't believe there's bad dogs; they're just bad owners. And up until age 13, it's really important, man. As a human, the first 13 years of your life, they really form a lot of who you're going to be and who you are. You learn to attach in a certain sense. By that point, you've developed a relationship to certain energies that were present in your childhood. If your parents liked to argue and fight a lot, and there was a lot of drama and tension, usually by age 13, you've become a little addicted to that. So it's an interesting one because sometimes I see a lot of people have some unlearned behavior. It's the nicest way to say it. And so what happens is they're kind of like living in a knee-jerk reaction state. They let their subconscious rule them. And your subconscious, is when you do something without even realizing it. You'll have a feeling. You'll get upset. Someone will say something and you just instantly get angry. And so that's kind of a state where a lot of people end up residing. They're living in that subconscious world. So they get triggered easy. They get depressed easy. They go into certain states and they don't even realize why. They don't even understand it and articulate it because they've never taken enough time to look inward. And that's one thing I notice about our society is they want you distracted. They want you on your phone all day, on social media. They want you working constantly. And the last thing they really want you to do is spend time to look inward. Hearing something strange, hearing a drone come by. I was like, what the heck is that? Wow. Yeah, I believe that sounds like a really good line, Fishy. That's here in this town I live in, Mount Shasta. It's a spiritual mecca. It's one of the spiritual hubs of the world. So we get a lot of spiritual tourism here, and some are grounded, some are pretty out there. They think they're the reincarnation of Jesus, and they'll go around having everyone call him Yahshua. So we get these we get the spectrum of spiritualness up here. And for me, the one factor that I wouldn't say I judge people on, but it's a standard that I like to see in people is their ability to look inward and reflect on their own actions. If they hurt or offend another human, do they have the ability to sit with that, or do they get defensive and do they argue? So that's one of the spiritual qualities that to me is a very important one, is self-reflection. If you can sit for a moment and look at your actions, just be really still with it. And sometimes that's not the best reflection. In my youth, I got a lot of that. I used to speak really loud and intense and yell a lot, and my partner would be like, hey, I can't handle that. quiet down. And I took offense to a lot of that. I thought she was just judging me, but it was just hard for her to accept the energy that I was putting out. Yeah, I see this thing here called, we call it, it's called the wounded healer. And the wounded healer likes to spend a lot of his time focusing on what they can do to help and heal others. So they try to hold this spiritual space. They try to create some kind of ceremony. They try to do something that is geared for helping and healing others instead of, once again, focusing on their own reality. I don't believe we're here to change the world. I don't believe we're here to fix the world and to fix everybody else. I believe we're here to be the best version of us, our own individual selves. And if we did that, then there would be a snowball kind of reality. There'd be consequences of that positive action. If we all took care of our own emotional state and our own view of the world, then everything would balance out, because there wouldn't be strife with another neighbor because you get hit. Man, they're just hitting light today, guys. They're not really nailing these things. That tells me we're the big fish. Beacon. Yeah, I'm real strong on justice. I'm real strong on equality. There's I've hung out with a bunch of spiritual hippie types for a long, long time, and we gather a lot of times up here in the woods, and there'll be 300 or 400 of us deep when we gather. Yeah, that fish took off my worm. He got me. And I've always been one of my roles, other than a medic, because I worked in hospitals for years, is I'll be what we call Shantasena. And Shantasena, Sanskrit for the peacekeeper. And so it's kind of like the policeman, if you will, for this group of natural based people that like to just gather in the woods. And fairness, equality is really important to me. My uncle was a sheriff. I almost went into the police force when I was young. I just morally, I didn't know if I could enforce laws that I didn't agree with. I felt like that would be a hard time for me. I'd run up against a wall where I had to enforce laws as a policeman that I just didn't quite agree with. So I chose not to be a policeman. Almost went to be a fireman instead. Talked myself out of that one and ended up in the hospitals. Come on, let's get this big fish. He took my worm. I'm going to go get you, boy. Oh, it's beautiful out here today, guys. Snow's everywhere. Low 30s. I got two water sources all around me. I got, I should say, two inlets. I got a big creek back that direction, and right over here to the right of me is a small one coming down. So you just got this beautiful sound of trickling water over here. Yeah, that's what I was mentioning earlier about doing a live at that river. Just give you all a taste of It's the meditative quality. Really is chaos. It is gorgeous. It's just relaxing. I got that snow on all the trees. I got this small little window. Ugh. Next storm is coming in about 11. Getting cold. Time to turn on my heated jacket. The fishing looks like it's going to be challenging. Yeah, you know, I study simulation theory and I study chronology. I've studied all kinds of religions. I was going to pipe in the other day when we were talking. You were talking to, might have been Komalus, I think, from India, and you were talking on the Hindu stuff, because I got a fair amount of knowledge on that, but I just watched you guys talk. And one of the things that I learned about when studying some of that stuff is it says right in there that says in the Bible that Satan is the god of this world, and that's an interesting phrasing, an interesting way to look at it. And it really seems like from a simulational way of looking at life, if this is a construct, a simulated construct, it's a predator-prey construct. Everything tends to eat other things. And it's a kind of an interesting one to live in, and an interesting one to experience and to see. And so I kind of really observed it. And, you know, you look at the animal kingdom, you know, it's always it's a predator-prey scenario. And I've grown so many plants in my whole life, and I'll watch plants do it to each other. They'll strangle another plant out. They'll take over its place, and they'll kill it because it can't get any light. And plants don't behave any better. They decide, and we're all fishermen. Yep, exactly, fishy. And so it I've been the nice guy, you know, my whole life, and when they say nice guys finish last, I mean, I've experienced it many times. I've got to take advantage of because of my trust, because I just want to see the best in people, and it's easy for me to be fooled. I've had to learn to not be changed too much, like I was talking to Burko about and his wife, to not let others' actions change you. And I like to be a giving, generous person and offer my heart and soul to the world. And I just had to learn to be more selective. And I didn't quite read the red flags good enough. Yeah, that's really cool. I've studied a lot of these things about plants, and plants feel. You know, there's these plant medicine spirit guys who wrote a lot of good books. There's this guy who did these studies on plant communication. They did these studies on do plants feel, do plants communicate with each other, and absolutely, just by telling a plant, they have these electrodes put on it, just by telling negative things to the plant, like I hate you and I'm going to kill you, then the plant would actually have a negative response. And then they found that these plants would have this response if they were halfway around the world. And so there wasn't a direct correlation with, like, you have to be right in front of this plant to actually do and say. And so when they would go to attempt to actually hurt the plant, there would be a panic response, and these electrodes would go off. And so, Pierre, good morning. Oh, see, that got me, Fishy. I looked over at Chet. I look back. Bam, 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 bam. Getting a bite. Fish here have a sense of humor, man. Sense of humor. At least he didn't steal my worm. Not gonna let that fish go, man. I'm gonna get him this time. I'm gonna hold this rod. I would have liked to got him, man. I wanted to get him. Get that fish next time. Yeah, it's an interesting balance. I noticed that if I come out here like yesterday, I kind of just wanted to come out here to fish for food. Something to get one of those big old German browns. I got 3 or 4 people that enjoy the smoked trout that I give them on a weekly or every other week. I still got a ton in my freezer, my fridge, I should say. But that was the thought yesterday. So I didn't put any cameras on. I left the GoPros at home. I left the lives. I think I turned your live on, Fishy, when you were talking, because it was right before it got dark here, so it was nice to be able to just listen. But when I come out here to fish, because I want to stock up on some good fish, I'll give it my all. I'll be 100% focused. I noticed the way you guys fish there from them big carp and catfish. It reminds me of steelhead or salmon fishing, where sometimes I'll put like 6 hours into steelhead fishing, and I'll get one good bite. I'll get one amazing hit. And if I'm not on it and I don't do it right, then I get nothing. Now, I notice that when I watch some of you guys fish with those giant carp and catfish, that you'll get sometimes like one serious hit. And if you're not right on it, well, then there that goes. That's kind of what happened to me. I got 3 serious hits this morning. The fish here are funny, man. I still haven't figured it out. I don't I don't know how it happens, but like they know the second you turn your back. They know that. They're like, it's like a kid in a car when you're driving and they decide to act up. Yeah, this will be happy to get one fish kind of day here. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was wondering if you guys just got, a couple good bites here and there, because like, well, I'll go out. They call or they call steelhead the fish of 1,000 casts, and it'll be like that out there in those rivers, man. And steelhead are migratory fish, so they come in from the ocean, and sometimes if you're the sockeye and some of these from Idaho, you travel 1,200 miles from the ocean to your spawning grounds. Some steelhead can go, what did they say, 40 miles a day? 40 miles of river a day is what a good steelhead can traverse. I see. Interesting. Yeah, because I'll watch a bunch of these different channels with y'all fishing, and you guys will have your bells and stuff on, and you guys will just be chilling for 3 hours sometimes and get one serious bite. It makes sense because the uh, the bass and the catfish and stuff like that, they're kind of in hibernation mode out here. Since I'm not targeting those guys, I haven't spent enough time learning their behavior. No, Elfish, you just missed a couple. You missed a massive bite that I missed. Chat got me. Got myself looking at chat. Let me rephrase that. Yeah, and so that steelhead, you know, since you got a migratory fish, you got a couple different philosophies in these rivers. You can wait in the same spot, and then you're going to be getting the different migratory steelheads that come pass you by. So let's say at a particular stretch of river, if during that day, you know, 500 steelhead come passing by, well, then that's what's going to happen if you stand still and you fish that exact same stretch of river. But what most fishermen like to do is they like to bounce all around. Oh, yeah, no steelhead there, huh? Yeah. I love the steelhead. I've gotten they're a challenge to catch. That's why they go by the fish of 1,000 casts. I've known some people that have spent 10 years trying to catch one of these Oregon steelhead and still haven't caught one. It's really interesting. And so the other philosophy, if you don't want to just stand there in the river and wait for them to pass you by, is you spot jump all day. And so you come give this particular spot of the river 20, 30 minutes, and then you'll book down another mile. So you got kind of two whole different philosophies. I tend to be the type that likes to just sit still. And there's a couple of times I've gone up to the Chetco, and you know, it's a wild mountain, so it comes out of the Oregon mountains, like serious 6,000 foot mountains, and the water travels about 130. Well, what was it? Yeah, about 120 miles down from the Oregon mountains to the coast. Yeah, Lake Erie, baby. And so there's no dams on this thing. And so as the storms get intense, like they're saying they're supposed to get 7 inches of rain this weekend there, that part of the Oregon coast. So that river will quadruple in size. And it just gets muddy and all the banks disappear. I was there one year and the water was rising so fast, I barely got out of there. I was on this giant bank that's like a mile long when the river is mellow, and then it gets completely submerged. And I'd say I got out of there within a half hour. Yeah, that's cool. I'll have to check that. I'll have to check those muskie out. Steelhead, unlike the salmon, a lot of times I'd say about 70% of steelhead will choose to live again after they spawn. And so they can spawn maybe 3 or 4 times if they wish. And so steelhead will go up, lay its eggs, and then turn around and head back to the ocean. And so they tend to be a little bit more hungry. Salmon don't ever really want to eat because they know it's the end of their life. After they spawn, it's over, so they don't care about food. But steelhead does. It's going back to the ocean, so it needs, you know, sustenance. So we get upriver and downriver steelheads. Downriver steelheads have been spawned out. And so a downriver steelhead is no good, no bueno. You know, they're fun to catch, and that's about it. But the meat has changed color. They've lost. When they come out of the ocean, they have this firmness that's just amazing, and the quality of meat is through the roof. They eat a lot of krill, and they eat a lot of crustacean-based things, which give them their pink meat. When they come in and start going up the rivers, they're not doing that. Wow, that is so cool. I'll have to check this muskie out. I mean, I'm slightly familiar with them. That's really cool. The steelhead, one of the thing about them is they're just, they'll give you a fight like you've never experienced, man. Pound for pound, I mean, they just go crazy, and they don't want to relax. They're very unhappy. They barrel roll. They jump up out of the water and do 3 or 4 circles. They try to get some slack on your line, and then they snap back the other direction, and then they'll break it. And so when you get a steelhead on, you want constant tension. You want to have enough drag on there, though, that they can pull if they need to. But if you don't have that drag system set right, and you accidentally let them get a little bit of slack, which is really what they're after, then they can get that hook position to not be pulling on them constantly. And as long as that hook in their mouth isn't pulling on them constantly, then they can turn their head against the opposite direction of where the hook is coming from, and it allows it to kind of pop out of their mouth. So for us, once we get them on, you always want that constant reeling pressure. You don't ever want to let them have that slack. I like communing with the fish and nature. I'll go up in these places where the salmon are running, and sometimes we can't fish them because the regulations. California hasn't let us catch salmon in the last 2 years. But I'll go up there and try steelhead fish, try to get them steelhead eating the eggs. And I don't know, it's something magical about it to me. I'll be in these rivers with my waders, and it was probably about 4 years ago. I was standing there, and then this giant 4-foot king chinook. I turn around. He's about to bump me. He's just floating down the river. So I had my net on my back. So I just grabbed my net and just put him in the net for a second to hold him. I just sat there. Big guy, and he was decomposing. He had a lot of sores on his body. But, he just let me pet him and hang out with him. And I just let him go. And it's, I don't know. It's just something, you watch those fish, and they, if you're open to it, you can learn a lot from nature. That's the way I do it. I'm Lakota, almost 50% Lakota. And so I come from a pretty prestigious family, the Lakota heritage. And so my family's tribe was the last free tribe. So just about 120, 130 years ago, they were the last free Roman tribe. So there's something about it. I kind of inherently feel that connection with nature, oneness. I spend a lot of time out in nature, just being. I got a few good reasons. I got a lot of stones I like to go dig and collect out here. But for me, it just teaches you a lot. Humans, and you can learn a lot in our computer-based society about survival and how to create money and get your brand out there. But nature will teach you a little different. You get to learn about the rhythm and the structure of nature. It's not driven by, creating money. There is that competitiveness. There is, there's territory in nature with animals. There's other things like that to learn. I watch these beautiful ospreys out here. I can hear one right up in this tree talking to me. He's a really great guy. I catch a fish, he gets all excited. I don't know if he's happy for me or he's just excited that he sees that fish and he wants it. But I catch that fish and the osprey will start yelling at me, good job, buddy. That's what it feels like I'm hearing. He's just yelling at me, super happy. And then I watch him. He'll catch this beautiful fish, and he'll be it's like the osprey catch him, and then they circle around for about 2 minutes. I think it's to let the fish die. I think they're holding it really tight with their claws, and it's wiggling and jiggling, and they need that fish to stop wiggling before they land in a tree. But a lot of times while it's doing that little circle flight around, the eagle will take off out of the tree, and he'll come just bum rush him. And then it's like a big fight in the air, and that osprey is trying to defend itself, and it usually drops the fish, and then the eagle swoops down, takes the fish. And so you see it constantly. You see this predator-prey dynamic. You see it in our world, it's, you go to the wrong neighborhood in the middle of the night in LA, and, something bad could happen to you. You see the predator-prey scenarios like that, but you don't see it like at a grocery store. Imagine this grandma comes walking out with her grocery cart full. Some dude just tackles her, slam, throws her down, and steals her food. That's like what the eagle does, man. He'll wait till these guys catch some food, and then he'll come bully them, slam, just nails them, and steals their food. And I'm like, wow, eagle, go catch your own food, buddy. Well, this has been a no fish day, guys. I play cribbage a lot. I used to play that with my dad all the time. And, one of the main goals in cribbage was not to get skunked. You did not want to get skunked in cribbage. Same with fishing. You don't want to be skunked. And it's starting to snow a little bit. Yeah, there's something about that barometric pressure, that's for sure. When you fish a place enough that you kind of get to know the fish inside and out, and you know their patterns, and you know they're biting, you know what they'd like to bite on and when they like to bite on. When they like to bite, to not bite on, sound like a fool. But when you know what they like to bite on and when they like to bite, then you know the area really well, and you'll notice the anomalies. This full moon energy, it's really interesting. All my other past lives, they're a classic example. By 20 minutes in, I've caught like 4 fish. Lately, I've been last couple of days of fishing out here for me, I've been targeting these giant fish. Like I was saying earlier, no 2 days of fishing are alike. Almost thought about naming a fishing channel that, no 2 days of fishing are the same, because it's true. It's like you go out to the same water you went in, and you got the same presentation. I learned a lot from watching this guy. His name's Cal Kellogg, and he's a local guide here, and he has I think he's got a small YouTube channel, and hunt, fish, shoot. Oh, get hit. Oh, got a snag, man. Got a hit, then I got snagged up on something. Man, he took my worm. Took my worm right off, man. So I learned from Cal. He'd be out here and he trolls a lot in this lake, and he was Dodgers, and he'll have these, big Dodgers, man, stuff like that he uses for trolling for these big trout. And so I've read his reports, and he'll comment that, oh, today we caught 10 browns, and then they'll be out here the next day with another group, and he'll comment that whatever they did yesterday didn't work. And so even these professionals notice, these guides out here will throw out the same rig, the same gear. They'll take clients back out here on day number 2, and it didn't work. Whatever they threw out the previous day caught nothing. So that's been one of my thoughts endlessly, is that you just got to have that approach. You got to have that mental approach. Each time you go out to somewhere, to your fishing spot, that each day is going to be different. I think those are good fish that I've been missing, guys. The type of bite usually tells me. When I get when I get this kind of bite that feels like the teeny little trout bite, the peck, 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 and I miss that one, sometimes I'll notice my marshmallow goes floating up, and I'm like, okay, it was probably one of those little stalkers. But when I get these bites that just tag my rod, and then I reel it in, and I'm missing that half of the worm that was dangling off, but my marshmallow's still on there. That tells me that it was a smart fish that knew better than to eat the hook part of my setup. And I'm in a very, very popular fishing spot. Yeah, exactly. My dad taught me to believe in myself. My dad taught me that I can do anything I want in this world. And I had kind of a dysfunctional mom. My dad wasn't the best, if you will, but he gave me a strong sense of belief, and he gave me a understanding that whatever I put my head to, that you can do it, son. And I've proven that many times. There's many things that may not be the things that I enjoy the most, but if I need to do some plumbing issues, if I need to fix the electrical, install another hot water heater, or if I need to install a 240 line into my breaker box, no problem. Mechanical stuff, as far as the car goes, I wasn't given that much experience like my cousin was, so he could just tear the brakes apart. He could just rip right into his engine and his Camaros and all that. So that's kind of one thing that you kind of need. You need an elder. Got a hit on that one. Need an elder to help you tear apart carburetors and learn about torque and learn a lot of these interesting intricacies of tools. You can self-teach with the internet nowadays. Come on, fishies. I want to get one of these big fishes, and snow's starting, so I'll have to set up a snow-proof scenario if the snow is going to start hitting my phone. Come on, fishies. Let's get a big old giant fish. Heck yeah, Pierce. Come on. Let's do it. Let's get this. Come on, the fish. gonna have to tie on a Castmaster, I think. Yeah, I agree, Fishy. I agree. You know, it's so much simpler. I've tried to learn. I got a Toyota Tundra. I've had to tear apart a few things, and I've had to go online and learn about tearing this thing apart. And I make it work, but when you got someone there can show you and they can give you a demonstration of it in the moment, fix. McWalleye, nice to see you, buddy. Wrench up. I'm amazed at how much information we can access though nowadays with YouTube. I like Indian food and I like Thai food. One of my favorite Thai dishes is a Penang curry. So years back, I was like, man, I'm tired of hunting down good ones, so I'm going to learn to make my own. And I took the time to study good Penang curry. Good old internet, man, taught me well. Now I can make I'll make a Penang curry and I'll catch steelhead or one of these amazing German browns and I'll put that in there. Ooh wee! Better than anything I can buy in a store or a restaurant. Yeah. Yeah, I love Indian food. My daughter's 18 now, and she was raised on all that stuff, and so took her to Indian restaurants her whole life and Thai restaurants. And she loves navratan korma. That's one of my favorite Indian dishes too. And it's funny because so many of her peers just weren't given a similar experience. They have a closed down palate. When I grew up, the only kind of ethnic food I had was Chinese food. I grew up in, predominantly American eating diet up in Portland, Oregon. And I think Chinese was the rarest thing ethnically that my parents ever took us out to. I didn't try Thai food or Indian food till I was probably almost 30. And I love most all that stuff. Moroccan food, oh, that is so good. Nepalese food is good. If you can get a real good African restaurant, oh man, up in Portland we had this place called the Horn of Africa. Oh, they made such good food. And I've had some different African food too, where they cook everything in this giant big old pot and they put big like turkey legs and fish and everything in this big old pot. And that kind of African food really wasn't anywhere near the same. That sounds like a pretty cool idea, Fishy. That sounds like a darn good idea. Yeah, I was taught this really cool method for making baked beans, and probably gonna do a video on it here. It's an all day cooking thing. I start with a Great Northern white bean, and I bake them all day in the oven, and I use tamari, olive oil, and maple syrup. Tamari, olive oil, and maple syrup. They're the three key ingredients that when they cook together all day long, they end up making this smoked flavor, and it's one of the most amazing baked beans out there. And that's what I'm used to as what we call baked beans. Yeah, Fishy, I would love to do that with you, buddy. I'm down, man. Ooh. Habanero, that's a little bit beyond me. It's a little spicy. And so most people that here in America, what they call their baked beans is just this grossest thing ever. It's like this Hanes beans, this can of like tomato sauce, no flavor baked beans. And so when he said like most people call things spicy, ketchup up there. It's like, yeah, that's what I noticed about the baked beans here in America. Most people that call these things baked beans, I'm like, that's gross. There's no flavor to it. Tastes like you put some ketchup in some beans and you call that baked beans. Yeah, it's at times I take for granted, because I've been fishing for so long, and it's just so natural for me. But there's so many things I know about fishing that I forget others don't. Oso was asking me lots of great questions, and so I thought about that. I was like, well, what is the thin line between doing fishing tutorials and fishing? It's like, well, do people want to see you catch fish? Do they want a mixture of tutorials? They want some entertainment. I was thinking about coming up with some trivia questions for one of your next lives, Fishy. I got you a notification on for the Monday live that you got scheduled. But I was like, hanging out with your lives, I know it's fun when you keep it entertaining. Got that gotta let that inner game show host kind of personality come out. The old Bob Barker and Gene Rugburn. Yeah, I've been watching some other interesting people that you've suggested, Fishy. I watched these guys called Addicted Fishing for years, and they're up here in Oregon and Washington area. I'm like an hour from Oregon, and they'll do a Thursday. They'll do a Thursday live on Addicted Fishing, and they bring in 3 or 4 guests. And since it's centered right by Portland, Oregon, they'll comment about fishing on the Columbia River, because the Columbia has like nonstop fishing between all these different runs of salmon, steelhead, and sturgeon, and things like that up there. And so those Thursday lives will always kind of vary. And sometimes they might be talking about fishing the Columbia over by Buoy 10 and what's going on. They might be talking about the upcoming sturgeon. They might be talking about the steelhead that season. Right now, they're probably talking about springers. We got, these spring salmon that are coming in. And so the winter steelhead season has been in full swing here last 2 months, since January. Fear. Oh. As long as the accents aren't too heavy, I can handle most people's non-perfect speaking of English. I watched a gal the other day. She was talking of some YouTube content advice, but she had such an interesting thick accent, real heavy British accent, that I felt like I was spending majority of my time trying to understand each word that she was saying. Then I was getting the message. And so, oh, here comes the snow, guys. As long as it's not like that, as long as I can understand it, and I'm not spending like that. I think it was Brad Pitt did one movie where he was I don't think it was Fight Club. It might have been something else. He was like a Scottish or Irish accent. He had like a real intense accent. I forgot what it was, and it was like, oh, that was challenging to watch that movie. Couldn't understand a third of what he was saying. So as long as it's not an accent like that, where I feel like I'm spending half my time. I grew up watching this guy named Justin Wilson, Louisiana style outdoor cooking, and he had a Creole French Louisiana kind of accent. Little pinch of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and now he'd speak like that. And but I could understand him. It was this guy giggle and I'd laugh. Dutch. Oh yeah, that's right. Uh-oh. I was reading chat again. Yeah, I've been to Amsterdam, I think 3 times. Amsterdam in the 90s. I think 2006 was when I last went. Almost moved there in the early 2000s. Had a buddy who lives in there, lives in the dam, and he encouraged me. I've lived many lifestyles, and one of them brought me to the dam a whole bunch. I was an award winner here in America, and they were like, well, you come to the dam, then we'll treat you like royalty. And they did, man. I was given all these all access VIP badges to all these shows and all these clubs and all these concerts, and everyone treated me like royalty. It was a really interesting experience. Yeah, it's been really cool. I've got to experience lots of different community. My dad was married to a black woman for about 25 years before he died. He died a couple years back. And so I've been around the black, African American, whatever you want to call it, community pretty much my whole life, because my dad really had a thing for black women in his later life. And so I've been exposed to that. And my daughter, we'd go hang out with my dad, and my stepmom would teach my daughter all about braiding and weaving her hair and doing all kinds of stuff. And she's, older black lady in her 60s. And it's so interesting to learn a lot about the culture, and that age, they don't talk about their hair and stuff like that. And it was really interesting to spend so much time listening and talking, and she'd be open to questions. And yeah, gal before my stepmom, my dad was dating this other black guy for a few years, and she'd make this big old shrimp boil. She's from like Louisiana and stuff like that. And so my dad loved his spicy shrimp boil kind of cooking. So when I'd come visit, they'd throw a big shindig. Get to eat a whole bunch of crawdad and corn. That stuff would always just tear my stomach up, though. So when I watch Oso and a lot of her friends, it's comforting, I guess, in a certain sense, because it reminds me of just listening, just talking with my stepmom, just listening to her talk and her friends talk, and certain words they choose to use, and tonality of the voice. My dad always needed one of them strong, bossy kind of women, keep him in line. Oh, the snow's looking so nice now. I don't know about the fish today, y'all. They've given me some action, but the kind of action that I had to be like 100% right on top of it. Almost had to be holding the pole in my hand. That's really cool. Sounds like a choir. Yeah, that train, when I get out of here, I got to cross that track. And so sometimes we have these giant long trains that coming from up north in Oregon with the wood factories and stuff. So I'll get stuck there waiting for 10 minutes for that train to go by. Yeah, you know, Fishy, the all those beautiful black women, they're so supportive. They're so nice. When Oso was talking the other day, and uh, she was talking about telling her husband, let's go fishing soon, and I could see the emotion that she was talking to her husband. Her husband just lit up. Were you serious? You really want to go? And he probably never thought in his life that his wife was going to want to go fishing. And so, for her, I could see the excitement in his eyes. He was like, "Oh man, oh YouTube, I owe you guys a debt of gratitude." I imagine he's going to go out fishing and he's just going to be hog and slop. No, Fishy. It's it's that full moon, man. It's good. This is good for me to share with y'all to prove the barometric pressure BS, because I know this particular stretch of water, and I bet you that's why Cindy and stuff like that, they probably know their stretch of water too, and they've done it. And I've tried to prove it to myself before, and I've come out here on full moons and I've caught nothing. And I've come out here 2 days later and I'll just be slamming them. 2 days before and I'll slam them. So this one just kind of goes to show the the world. Oh, that was a little bite, man. I thought I had that guy. I should have waited for a better bite. Should have waited for a better bite. Now, see, I was right on that one. I was watching that from the start. See, I like to let that worm dangle like that. Bouncer. And that's what they'll do. They'll get the bottom of that worm, just that little part that's hanging off there, just enough to mess with it. You're probably right in time for me to catch a big one, Bouncer. I haven't caught nothing so far, but a good time, man. Crazy life. Yeah. I got a small weight on there. I can't get it that far out. Been an interesting day. About 5 good bites, 5 good misses on my behalf. Three of them were human error. I was distracted. The other 2 were I was right on, and I just didn't get them. Not a good enough hook set. Yeah, I fished out here. I went live a couple of days ago during just a torrential storm, man. I got so soaked. It was ridiculous. And I caught a lot of fish. It was dangerous. Almost slipped. Almost wiped out big time in the mud. We get real extreme day to night temperatures here. Like there will be about a 40-degree difference between our day and night temperatures here during the summer months and during most time of the year where it's warm. We'll get the height of the summer. We get stretches where it's about 105 or so, 108 maybe. We'll get those temperatures for about a week in mid-July. But if it's 100 degrees out during the day, it's about 60 degrees at night. So we get these cold mountain nights, which is really good. Yep. Gotta get that short out. So that makes it really difficult for us to grow lettuces and spinach and certain greens and cilantros and a lot of things like that here. It took me a while to understand, but it's not the actual cold or heat that will make one of those kinds of plants bolt on you. It's the extreme difference between night and daytime temperatures. So if you lived over on the coast where say there's only a 15, 20 degree difference between day and night, 80 degrees during the day, 60 at night over there in the Oregon coast or Northern California coast, that's perfect for growing lettuce, perfect for growing greens. Just about everybody here gets the same issue when we grow our greens. Is they'll take off, they'll look really good, they'll be a 6-inch tall lettuce or a spinach, and then it'll bolt every time. And so unless you try to greenhouse it, oh man, that was a hit. I missed him. It's all still intact, so I want to get this guy. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to going to that river soon. If any of you river fishermen know, and it's one thing to catch fish here at the lake. It's easy to set out here with a bobber, with bait, but river fishing, yeah, that's these Oregon, California rivers we got here. They're wild, fast-moving, really intense rivers. You catch trout in those, then you got a fair amount of skill. Place I was scouting out, it looks tough. I don't know if I can use many spinners. Get all those snags on the bottom, end up losing all your spinners. We got this method. We use this thing called a spin and glow. by Yakima Bait Company. And if you guys aren't familiar with spinning glow, it's a pretty interesting little thing. It's kind of a torpedo teardrop shape kind of guy that's got wings on him, and it slides. It's got a hole in it, so it slides through your line. And some people will troll with them, and they do pretty good with them. But it's meant to be dropped in a heavy current section of a river, and then it sits up, floats about a foot off the bottom, and it's got those wings on there, and since the current's there, it'll make it spin round and round and round and round. And some people catch fish with just the spinning glow. Some people like to put spawn, a little egg sack. Either you do the sack or you just cut off a little chunk of spawn and you put it on there. And when I go to, the snow coming is really beautiful. When I go to the Oregon coast over the Chetco River, that's all the old timers like to do, because you can sit in your car, you sit in your truck with the heat on, drinking beer with your buddy, and then you go set your rod out. You set your plunking. They call it plunking out there. And so you take the giant steelhead rod. You can plunk for salmon or steelhead, and you got this 3-way swivel that you tie on anywhere from a 3 to 8 ounce weight, circular disc weights, so they stay in the bottom of the river. And then off that 3-way swivel, you run an extra line off the back side of it, I guess, and that's where you connect this 36-inch leader line to the spinning glow. Yeah, it's starting to snow. I don't think it's hitting my camera, so it looks good. And so then the spinning glow just sits freely about a foot or so off the ground, depends on how much height you did off of that off your weight to your 3-way swivel. So then the spinning glow will sit there, and it'll be 36 inches or so from where you tied it off to that 3-way swivel. It sits there, and in the current, it sits there and just spins. It just sits there, just goes around and around and around and around and around. And so as your steelhead or salmon are booking up the river, this thing will be sitting there, and it'll be spinning, and it usually pink with dot colored wings or like a mylar colored wings. So when it spins around and around and around. So you have multiple sizes of these little spinning glow guys, from little guys that are only like a ½ inch long, about as thick as a Sharpie, maybe Sharpie pen, two pencils kind of together. Then you get all the way up to like these 2-inch long ones that are as round as a quarter. So I'm thinking about modifying one of those for this river I got right over here, because you can catch trout on those as well. Some people will put them underneath on their trolling systems. Yeah, it's a beautiful snowy day. Gotten a few bites, but not serious takers. We have these low flow water restrictions here in California and Oregon. And so when these rivers drop down real low, they force us to use bobbers. And so you can't use your spinners by themselves. Let's put it this way: anything you're going to try and use has to have a float connected to it. So any kind of system you're just throwing out on the bottom with weight, nope. And it's a low flow water restriction. So one of the ways that these guys will get around it is they'll take their bobber, and then they'll have like 15 or 20 feet of leader going after the bobber, and then they'll tie on a spinner, and they'll throw that puppy out there. And so the bobber stays on top of the water, and the spinner's booking down the river, and it's just getting pulled real heavy. So then they'll let that puppy just go, and they're technically fishing the way they're supposed to, because it's low flow conditions and they're using a bobber. So I was entertaining trying that as well, putting on a small little Panther Martin or something like that, and hook it underneath one of my floats, and then just try and connect it. Try to hold that float steady out there in the middle of the current. It works like a plug. I got a few number 3 plugs. It's like the smallest I got. But I really need a 2-point or a 2.5 to try and target the big trout that are here. That 3.0 is just a little bit big. Come on, fish. Yeah, imagine if you fish in a particular spot enough over and over throughout the course of the month, you're going to notice the changes that don't have anything to do with you. And I think this barometric pressure, full moon, like any scientific thing, if you can try and get some kind of proven results, then you can get it past theory to a conclusive, proven kind of reality. And that's what I was kind of setting out for today. It's been challenging trying to do anything outside. There's weather. So I figured, hey, I might as well get out, get up. I had no clue. I thought I'd be sitting under 6 inches of deep snow right here, because just 2 minutes away, that's how much is all over the ground. This ground, it was under the lake. It was underwater just a couple weeks ago, so maybe it's just so wet or something that who knows. I'm gonna switch up. I might have to tie a cast master on and give this puppy a few swings. I believe I catch fish. I want to see it done. Okay, I'll use that other rod. I'll show you guys at least one fish, man. I got to break the skunk. I'm sure if you guys are like me, when it comes to my target fish source, I'm looking for salmon, steelhead, and trout pretty much. But I got a ton of gear, man. I was going through my gear, trying to figure out what to do for that river. I was thinking, like I was mentioning, either doing something strange with that spinning glow. I might just do some jig fishing underneath the bobber. And it's kind of an interesting way you do it there. Out here, we get a lot of steelheads that will they will nail it if you take what we call a nightmare jig, which is red and black. The red and black jig, that is I don't know, 1/8 ounce, that kind of deal. Tie that puppy on underneath there, underneath the float. Looks like a champ. But I have to get the bite. Got him. Finally, guys. Oh, did I lose him? Oh, I might have lost him. Thought I had him. Yeah, I lost him. Osprey thought I had him. He's excited. We're going to get you. I thought I had him. Whoa. Those omics make some really darn good corn, man. I lived in Ohio for a while, Bounce. And we were in Amish country. And about a hour and a half or so south of Cleveland. And so we were living in Amish country out there. And man, they would sell. This was in the mid '80s. They would sell their corn 10 a year for $1. Their little stand, man. That Amish sweet corn, that's some of the best corn I've had in my whole life. They knew what they was doing, man. Unlike me fishing today. Tying this Castmaster on. Let's see what we can get. Castmaster time. Let's see what this puppy does. Took the treble off this one. Put on a Siwash probably. So many different hooks out there, man. We have a few rivers in California. Actually, let me say that correctly. All the rivers in California are barbless when you're trying to catch steelhead and salmon. And so a while back, I watched somebody talking about it, and they were having real good success with circle hooks for the barbless. And so usually a octopus bait hook guy, Siwash hook was another one. And so those circle hooks work really well. Barbless circle hooks, the way that puppy's designed, it just tends to hold in the mouth a whole lot better. Yeah, that's about the only time I use the circle hooks is then, because it's barbless circle hook, and so I use it for that. We got this big river called the Smith, and it's Northern California River, and it'll get big steelies, massive salmon too. Oh, that osprey's got himself a fish. Oh, he's a happy osprey up there with his fish. Yep. I use the bait holder hooks, and then they're called octopus hooks. I use those most of the time. The octopus is what I use for my steelhead and salmon fishing. 1/0, 2/0, or 3/0. But the biggest we ever use for salmon is a 3/0. If you're yeah, you can catch one of them 70-pounders, no problem. Yeah, I got about 6 or 7 main water sources that I fish around here, and they all take different gear. It's so surprising. Though we got the Klamath, I got the Rogue, I got the Chetco, and I got the Umpqua rivers. They're all ones that I can fish for steelies. Some of them have salmon, not all of them. And it's just so different. You know what I mean? It takes me so much different gear. We got this system we use out here with these big jigs. They're like ½ ounce, 3/4 ounce, and 1 ounce jigs. And we toss them out in the river, and we're trying to bounce them, keep them just off the bottom, and we bounce them, you know, throw them upriver, and you bounce that puppy on down. And that works really amazing for springers. The coho salmon, if you will. They really love those guys. And that one's a tough one, man, you know, because you're throwing out this big old heavy jig, and you know, you're talking $5 is usually the cheapest one, upwards about $10 sometimes for that big monster, 1 ounce. And you don't ever want to let that puppy hit the bottom. It's the bottom, then that jig is gone, man. It's gonna get trapped between those rocks. And so you're first learning, and you're wasting all those jigs, man. Oh, it's a terrible feeling. I was up one morning in the Rogue trying to slam these Chinooks, and it was right before I had to have my headlight out. It was, you know, half hour before light. Oh. Oh, just a little bite, man. Just a little bite. No one's committing today, guys. Strange bite. No one committing. No one's committing, man. That was twice. That little guy just gave me a little bite, man. That's a good looking worm on there, too. Let's re-rig you. Come on, fishies. We got to do this. Getting to be a point of pride here. So yeah, it's like I think I got about 6 different salmon steelhead poles. Call it twitching those big jigs. And so when you twitch, yep. So we call it twitching when we use those big jigs, and you kind of want a particular rod for that. You want a twitching rod, and so you want something that's, you know, about a little less than 8 foot. The other ones we have, these 11-footers, you know, 10, 11-foot salmon steelhead rods, they're too heavy, and you're twitching that jig for 5 hours in the day. I tell you, man, that 1 ounce jig, oh, come on, fishies. So we need to have a whole lot of different setups for the different rivers, different sources, because the Chetco and the Rogue are not very far from each other, but the fish act so different. Umpqua, same deal. The Umpqua has a north and a south chain. Interesting. Interesting. Walleye. I'll use my float with spawn sacks. I'll sometimes you can put a jig on there. We got this thing we call it a jig bead and Roy, and so you'll take a jig and tie it on underneath your float, and then from there you tie on another line off the bottom of the jig, off the hook itself, and you got about three more feet, and we put a bead on there. We call that jig bead and Roy. That works pretty well. We're allowed 3 hooks. What happened there? Oh, something weird happened. Oh, now. Gotta fix the snag. What happened to my line? There it is. Yeah, it's so interesting up here, man. Pacific Northwest. We got, like I said, so many options to try and fish for. And we go out to the rivers. We go out to those rivers, and then we just modify the gear we're using that particular day to see if it'll work. Took a lot of learning for me, to be honest with you guys. I would sit up there at certain rivers and I'd be throwing out what I think should work, what works on another river. I wouldn't get a single bite. Oh, whoa. I might have got a fish on, guys. I think I got a fish finally. Fish is on finally. I thought I snagged it with my other line, but it's a fish. Finally got a fish. I finally got a fish. No skunk for me today, boys. Fish. Mr. Fish. He has shown up today. Mr. Fish has shown up. Woo! Take a fish. And he's gone. No skunk. All right. Now so we can catch something huge on this Castmaster. Oh, that was nice to catch one. Nice to finally catch one. Yeah, I've been up on this fishing this river up north of me called the Umpqua. They got a whole bunch of smallmouth bass in that river. There's no limit on the keep. There's no size, nothing like that. They want those fish out of there. So I'm usually up there salmon or steelhead fishing. Not much for salmon on that river. And gotten the bass on accident. But I'm thinking about heading up there this summer. I don't know if I'll get. Nah, I know for a fact I won't get receptions. I can't do lives there. Heck yeah, McWell. Trout are fun. You know, I'm in an area where they stock them, and so when you catch these fresh stockers, they've never been caught before. Oh boy, even a foot long fish, it just fights like crazy. Had one the other day. He was doing his tail walking. You know, he was flip flopping all out of the water. He was so excited. His little tail was on top of there, and he was just skipping like a little surfer. Well, guys, I think I'm thinking about wrapping it up. I usually do about 2 hours, so I shoot for. Short attention span theater. By that time, my body's like, oh, I need some food. Appreciate everyone being here. Well, I appreciate chatting with you. Fishing was very interesting today. One fish. I lost about 5 bites. One fish. Usually there's a ton more action. So there might be something to that whole barometric pressure thing. All right, one last good cast with this. Cast master. Darn right, Pierre. Better than none. Oh, yeah, fish. Chaos. It's a beautiful area, fish. Please come back, man. Hang out. Like and subscribe. Try to go live a couple times a week. I'm going to go live from this river here soon. And I'm pretty sure my signal works good there. I was scouting it out the other day. It's going to challenge me as a fisherman. It'll push me to my limit, man. I tell you, I'll be real happy to catch a trout there. But I'm really excited to show you guys the river. So what I was thinking about the other day is that I live in a little slice of heaven here, up in these mountains, and I was thinking you guys just may enjoy just seeing the scenery. I may not always catch a bunch of fish for y'all, but you can see our rivers and our lakes. I figured some people who live in more of an urban city environment, it might be nice just to look. You might feel the tranquility come through the screen. I was hoping for one of them giants today, but not today. I got a few big hits, which might have been one of those couple of those giants that I missed. It was yesterday or day before. I caught a couple 20-inch beautiful rainbows right out here. Caught a 26-inch German brown out here about 2 weeks ago. That was one of the bigger fish I caught. I've caught a rainbow about the same size. I don't think I've caught anything in the 30-inch range here. I think I've gotten a 39-inch steelhead. I didn't measure the salmons, but I caught like 18, 19-pound salmons. That's the biggest one I've gotten. I don't think I've gotten anything over 20-pound salmons. Well, I let a couple go without weighing, so you never know. They're same range, though. All right, all you beautiful folk. You all take care. I appreciate you all. Thanks for coming out here sky blue fishing with me out here in Mount Shasta, beautiful Northern California. Bouncer, take care. No skunk. You got that right, Elfish. It was great hanging out with you, buddy. Chaos, Pierre, everybody. Y'all go out there and be good today. Do good for yourself and your family. And I'll see you on the next one.